Exist. Coming to you live from Collingswood, New Jersey. This is Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center, and you're just in time to join us as we discuss power tools. We've been discussing power tools that we use in our lives for the whole month of November. We'll squeeze one more in. And what we really have been deepening into is the understanding that we have power tools for life that we can use in our everyday affairs, lives. So far this month we have fired up power tools of enthusiasm and faith. That was last week. Faith rightly placed. What are we placing our faith in? And today we're going to look at something that is critically important for all of our tools. Making sure they are and remain plugged in. We plug in our tools, right? If we don't plug our power tools in, the ones you hold and use, they won't work. So it goes for the same way that we live our lives. Are we plugging in those power tools of spirituality? And we're going to explore this morning a number of ways that we can get and stay plugged in. And we've been talking about Emma Curtis Hopkins' power. She was an absolute powerhouse of a woman, and we've been quoting her every week because she knew power tools. She said, we have the ultimate power. If we do not use that power, it does not alter the fact that it is our inheritance. We have all been in God's will, and we always will be. God wrote a will. He actually wrote a will. And each and every one of us is in that will. So our divine inheritance is always there. Whether we claim it or not, it's there. So the first way we get plugged in and a way to stay plugged in is simply to remember that we have unlimited power. Did you know that? Each and every one of us, we have unlimited power. And that unlimited power is our inheritance. And I love these words from Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science. And this is in his book, Science of Mind. The thing, which he's referring to the divine God, then means that it works for us by working through us and is us always. It cannot work for us in any other way. It spreads itself, he says, over the whole universe and shouts at us from every angle. But it can become power to us only when we recognize it as power. We have to recognize that we are powerful, infinite beings because that is our inheritance. It is within us. It is within us. So to plug in, we must first recognize God, or the divine source of all that is, as power, the only power. There is no other power but this universal energy. This is the power. New Thought author Emily Cady writes, God is power. Not simply God has power, but God is power. In other words, all the power there is to do anything is God, the divine. This is Cady. God, the source of all our existence. Every moment is not simply omnipotent, which is all-powerful, but rather omniscient, which is all the power that could ever be. God is not just omniscient, all-knowing, but is rather the omniscience, which is all that is, was, and ever can be. God is not only omnipresence, but more omnipresence. God is not a being having qualities, but rather is the good itself, she writes. It is those things. We use qualities in an attempt to describe the indescribable, if you will. It's beyond us to be able to truly describe this infinite energy, this divine presence that has created everything. Nothing exists outside of it. So the omniscient, the omnipotent, and the omnipresent nature of the divine is our nature, because we've been created out of it. So take a moment right now to connect with the energy of omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence in this room. Breathe in this feeling. Just breathe in power right here and right now. Sense it filling every nook and cranny of the room. Recognize that everywhere your eyes land, you are looking at good itself in every form. Tap into this profound awareness, and then please repeat this after me. This all power. This all power. This all knowledge. With feeling. It's like I used to tell, I had to do this over again, but I used to tell my sons when they would read their cards that I would write for them, read it with feeling. So, yes, they couldn't just open a card. So I would like us all to repeat this with feeling. This all power. This all power. This all knowledge. This all knowledge. This all presence. This all presence. Lives everywhere. Lives everywhere. Including as me. Including as me. Didn't that feel good? That felt so good. That's so good. We might say that we're a little plugged in right now, I think. And wouldn't it be nice to bottle this energy up and to take it with us and to use it like a cologne and just dab it behind our ears when we forget? Because we do forget sometimes. We forget who and whose we are. Right? Yeah, thank you. Well, I might not be able to offer that to you today because we can't bottle that up, but I do want to offer you a powerful idea, a powerful word, and a powerful way to stay plugged in to this all power, this all knowledge, this all presence. And the word is entrust. E-N, trust. Entrust. I think about how many people and things that we entrust our everyday living to. We do this every single day, consciously and unconsciously. We entrust ourselves to the food manufacturers that our food is safe, kind of. But a lot of people do, they don't question it. We entrust ourselves to the grocery store, that they have stored and properly do so with all the products to keep them fresh and untainted. We entrust our money to the banks. Hello, it goes into this place. I don't know where it is, you know, but we entrust it. We entrust our safety to the traffic engineers who time the traffic lights, and to the other drivers who hopefully live by those lights. We entrust our lives to the mechanics who build airplanes. Think about that. We entrust it. We get on the plane, we're up in the air, but we entrust it, yeah. We entrust it, and to, you know, to the men and women who pilot these planes. And it goes on and on. We entrust our lives. And it's all in the outer realm. Those are all the outer realms of humanity. And there's nothing at all wrong with that, because otherwise we drive ourselves crazy trying to function in any way, shape, or form. But there's so much more than this outer realm. In comparison to entrusting ourselves to the outer world of humanity, it is exponentially more powerful to entrust ourselves again and again to that inner world of spirit. How often do we go inside and entrust that intuition, those messages, that infinite life that is within all of us? So I have a little story. According to animal behaviorists, when your dog rolls over and wags its tail, and you can put this to a cat, you get a lot of cat people here, but you know, they roll over and you think, oh, they want their belly scratched, right? Because they feel so laid back and trustworthy, but really, the dog is making the supreme gesture of love and trusting himself or herself to you. In effect, your dog is saying, I love you and trust you. And I leave myself vulnerable, my throat area and all the vital organs are open for you to do anything you want. And that comes from Joy of Trivia by Bernie Smith. What a great image that is, though. No fear whatsoever, only trust. Do we entrust ourselves that way to God? I love this story about Myrtle Fillmore. As you know, most of you know, she and her husband, Charles Fillmore, founded Unity and Unity Village and the magazines, the monthly magazine, The Daily Word. So they opened a publishing company in the beginning also. So in those early days, they were struggling financially. And they were down to very, very little money. And one day at a staff meeting, there were concerns about whether they were going to have enough money financially to pay all of the bills. Because they had put so much money into this publishing company, they were also concerned that the church might have to close. In the midst of a conversation, one staff member said, we need to pray that the money holds out. And Myrtle said in that moment, no, we need to pray that our faith holds out. Faith will always precede anything in the outer realm. Anything whatsoever. Health, wealth, relationships, whatever it is. The faith, the knowing that there's not God and there's only this infinite source of love itself and power. New Thought leader Jack Boland once said, my part is to believe. God's part is to provide all that is needed. That's our part. How deep do we believe? And that is what Charles and Myrtle Fillmore did. And we know that they did not close their doors. In fact, they thrived incredibly, and the Daily Word is still being published. And as I think about this word of entrusting ourselves to Spirit as a way to stay plugged in, I am reminded of the scripture in Mark chapter 9. I do believe. Help me to overcome my unbelief. Help me to, oh, what a great prayer that is. Help me to overcome my unbelief. And that's a very interesting statement. But these words were said to Jesus by the father of an epileptic boy after Jesus said to him, if you can believe, everything is possible to him who believes. And the father reacted by saying, I do believe. And then I suspect he thought, well, okay, the truth is maybe not so much. Maybe you can relate to this. This is in the Bible. To help me with, well, not that part, with my unbelief. And we are told that Jesus healed the boy. The really interesting thing about this miracle is that the father had first brought this boy to the disciples, and they could not heal him. And Jesus got a bit irked when he heard, he was a human being too, very evolved, but human being. So he got a little irked. And he said to them, "O unbelieving generation, how long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy to me." And after Jesus had healed the boy, his disciples asked him privately, "Why couldn't we do that?" He replied, "This kind of healing can only occur by fasting and prayer." And that reference is in Mark 9:14 to 29. Nowhere in the text does it say that Jesus was fasting from food before he did that miracle. In fact, he was having a mystical experience on a mountaintop where Moses and Elijah had appeared to him with Peter, James, and John as witnesses. It doesn't say that they fasted. So what if Jesus didn't mean fasting from food, but fasting from unbelief? And although he said prayer, it is not told that he actually stopped and prayed. No, he simply had a consciousness of wholeness. He had the wholeness. It was he and the divine were absolute oneness. Myrtle Fillmore she did not recognize any condition. She was supposed to die. She did eventually die, but not for many, many, many years after she was medically told that she would. It's that faith in wholeness, that everything is complete, that the Father and I are one. So in order to heal that little boy, there had to be no unbelief, not even a shred, and a consciousness that had completely united with the divine. The Father, to use the language consistent with the biblical teachings, I'd say that's a pretty good definition of plugging in. Jesus was plugged in. He knew. He knew. And while we may not have yet evolved to that consciousness of Jesus, we can stay awake to these ideas. Stay awake to them. Awareness is number one in truly, I don't even want to say deepening our faith, but really having faith that that power for good is right here within each and every one of us. So, to make conscious choices, to entrust ourselves to the divine, to God, to entrust ourselves, to listen to our intuition, which is, in the reading today so beautifully said, it's there within us. It is the divine speaking through and to us, guiding us. And that is a key element here. Making conscious choices in the moment to entrust ourselves, to stay plugged in to God. And here's a recent, I get these notes from the university, UT. They come online, and I've been getting them for years. But here's one that came. When walls close in and skies turn gray and dreams seem like they're awfully far away, you're probably just forgetting that the same hands that created the sun, the moon, and the stars are still holding yours, eager to help the universe. They always sign it the universe. Are we remembering to stay plugged in? Most of the time. Most of the time. And so I have right now various promises from the Bible, and this is from Isaiah, chapters 41 and 43. But listen to what they're saying. I can't wait till Reverend Mitch Austin comes and does our metaphysical Bible and the parables, because there's so much in there that is so metaphysical that we don't understand unless it's truly broken down to us. But anyway, this is Isaiah. The poor and needy search for water, but there is none. Their tongues are parched with thirst. But I, the Lord, will answer them. I, the God of Israel, will not forsaken them. I will make rivers flow on barren heights and springs within the valley. I will turn the desert into pools of water and the parched ground into springs. I will put in the desert the cedar and acacia and the myrtle and the olive. I will set pines in the wasteland, the fir and the cypress together, so that people may see and know, may consider and understand that the hand of the Lord has done this, that the Holy One of Israel has created it. And here's another one. So all things are possible. That's an example. All things are possible. How strong is our faith? And are we placing our faith rightly? Here's another one. When you shall pass through the sea, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned. Neither shall the flame kindle upon you, for I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. You are precious and honored in my sight, and I love you. Fear not, for I am with you. These are the beautiful, loving parables and parts of the Bible. They're loving. So it can be a sacred text when read correctly. And all of those were some pretty powerful statements. But when things get a little dicey, when we get confused and we walk in fear, when the storms come and we can forget all of that loving, wonderful stuff. It's like we're totally in the condition. We're totally in the fear. But that's the time that we need to stay plugged in. And if we can't stay plugged in, then call a practitioner or minister up and they will get you plugged in and keep you plugged in. So this is one of the reasons that we come here each week, to remind ourselves. It's why I'm up here, to remind me to stay plugged in, so I don't keep forgetting over and over again. When you're struggling with a problem, remember to trust in the Lord, or the infinite source of all good, divine energy. Remember to, with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. That's from Proverbs. We know so little. The infinite knows all. Okay? It's omniscient, all-knowing. There's a story of a young mother who was struggling with a particularly stubborn problem. And she prayed about it fervently for several weeks, begging and pleading, but without any results. Then one evening, she walked outside to get the paper and found her toddler son trying to pull open the petals on a tightly closed rosebud. He looked up at his mother, wide-eyed, and said, "I make pretty flower bloom." The young mother at that point said, as I heard myself explaining to him that you can't make a flower bloom by pulling on it, something clicked within me. That I had been handling my problem the way my son was handling that rosebud. I was pulling at it. I was pulling at God, when I needed to take my hands off of it and trust the power of the divine. When the answer did come, she said, it was so much better than anything I could have planned. And that's usually the way it is when we let go and let God, and we trust that this source energy is going to outpicture anything that we could ever imagine. So parachutes aren't proved trustworthy by walking around with them on your back. They show their reliability when someone jumps. God, too, can be trusted with our lives when we discover and we take that leap. We take that leap of faith, and all things, sometimes we're just pushed out of the plane. You ever feel like that in life? I know I have, where it feels like I just got pushed out of the plane. What am I going to do? Be in the fear for a minute, but immediately come back and know that the parachute, the infinite universal love, that's my parachute, will always support me, will always guide me. And it has worked every single time. Every time, no fail. And when you do this, the world will be invigorated and enlivened. It's amazing. And you look back and you go, I didn't do that. Because truly you did by opening yourself up to the good, the power that was already present. The source of our power is how we use this source energy that we call God. How are we using it? Our power is our source. There is only one. Yes? Only one. There is not duality in this teaching. There's only one. There's unity. Our whole life is about being connected to Source. What do you think happens when we shed these physical forms? We're still connected to Source because we're part of it. We are part of it. It is within us. It is our absolute truth. And we have the power to adjust our connection while we're here with Source. When we fully are allowing our radiance, our brilliance, our clear-mindedness to shine. When we are plugged in, we are joyful. We feel good in the moment. And we should, but there is only the moment. So it will continue. It might slip, but replug. Replug into the wall, your power tools. Replug into God, your faith. When, in other words, it is that feeling of fulfillment, awakeness, feeling free, knowing that all is well. Remember that feeling? All is well. Wow. I remember when I first got that a few years ago, and I said, all is well. What a concept. Because I had never felt that before. And so now I had a taste of it, so I'm going to keep myself plugged in, and I do hope that each and every one will keep themselves plugged in and feel that well-being. And so it is. And so it is.